a podcast to fill my brain. Movies and Task, Reddit, Minute of Sports, betting $1 and Joel the Game, Quora and questions from real listeners, all that and more on Joel the Podcast.
Bzzz. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel.
Welcome to episode 104. And I think that you, Nathan, would agree that this is a monumental milestone for our podcast. The 104th episode is a classic, thing that most podcasts never reach. For some reason, 103 is where a lot of podcasts stop.
Yeah. And those that do make it this far often, just skip to 105. So this is
out of superstition.
truly monumental that we have made this, there's just really no other word, monumental step in podcasting history.
If you discover that the two of us have died in fiery accidents over the course of the next week, now you know why. It's because we decided to make the 104th episode.
It's entirely possible that we will die live on the podcast.
Which would also be monumental.
Okay.
Yes, anyway, welcome to episode 104 of Joel the Podcast. I feel like I should say something else, but I guess that's the end of the intro to the podcast.
How was your week? Did you have a good time?
Well, I started watching The Office. No, I'm just kidding. For those who don't understand, we were just listening to episode 98 of our podcast. Not really episode 98. Episode 99 is just listed as episode 98, short stories. And about 25 minutes into the episode, we haven't gotten to the main content, and it's just me saying, yeah, I've started watching The Office again recently. So that made it a lot less funny, me explaining it. But otherwise, it would have been even worse, because they wouldn't have known what was going on.
It wouldn't have made any sense at all.
My week has been good. Yeah, kind of busy, but, all good things. How about you?
Yeah, well, was really not prepared for you to throw that one back at me. It's
classic blunder, asking a question without thinking of the answer yourself.
Oh no. No, I was, got into watching The Office recently, and I think that's all I need to say.
Did you buy any new plants this week?
No, not this week, although
No.
we did just recently talk about buying some more dirt for our plants, because we are out of the cactus potting soil, which several of the plants need because they like well draining soil. Mm-hmm. And it's coming up on time for they've outgrown their pots, which makes sense. It's the summertime; they're growing more than they typically would. I'm getting a little bit bored saying this, so I think we should move on.
Okay, let's start the podcast. So first, do we do Sports Minute first? Let's do Sports Minute first. We certainly did not prepare for the Sports Minute like oftentimes we do.
But that's okay, because there have been literally hundreds of notable sports events in the last week, so we should have no trouble with this.
Absolutely. All right, are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
And go. Why don't you start?
Oh boy. So this week in sports news, the entire world is really just reeling from, if you remember last week, Steph Curry, that 93-yard chip in.
Unbelievable.
I genuinely that is overshadowed all. I just said there were hundreds of sports events, but that really just overshadowed all of them. I can't remember hearing about a single other sports event this week, now that I think about it, just because all of the
that's kind of surprising, because during the past week we had the MLB All-Star Game.
Ooh, well, that's baseball. That doesn't count.
Yeah, baseball. The American League won their 9th consecutive All-Star Game.
Wow, why is that?
The American League just generally is better. I think they probably have higher payrolls overall. There's no salary cap in baseball, so it just so happens that the larger markets are more concentrated in the American League, I guess.
Interesting.
So, yeah, but that's the end of the Sports Minute. Extremely good job by us, as always.
Man.
So,
can you imagine? Like, just think about this for a second. Can you imagine if our listeners didn't get the Sports Minute every week to stay up to date on the latest sports news?
Honestly, that'd be catastrophic, I would say. And also, it would be catastrophic if we didn't limit ourselves to a minute, because I think we would just be rambling for a long time. I think that was a really good decision by us to limit it to a minute.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we can fully take credit for that. I think David might have complained about us talking about sports or something, but
I don't think he complained. Or maybe, I don't know. I think it was his idea that we switched to the Sports Minute, but I don't think we would be true to form in this podcast if we didn't just blatantly claim credit over someone else's idea. So, good job by us.
You're entirely correct there. So, speaking of David and his ideas,
did we get any emails this week?
In fact, we did. So
Awesome.
as I kind of alluded to, this email comes to us from David from Cephalopod Master. The subject line of this email is "I am a dumbass."
Thank you.
First of all, thanks for that. It's been a long week without receiving any emails titled "I am a dumbass."
I cried myself to sleep 1 or 2 times just thinking about that fact.
I know. So here's the email. Hello, Alex and Alex at Joel the Podcast. I'm excited, to say the least, to see the podcast return after a long, long week. You're welcome.
Me too.
Yeah. Also, I feel that I need to explain myself somewhat about last week's email. When I gave you the 3-week notice with a November deadline, you missed completely that I did not specify the year. I meant November 2022. When I talked about the hiatus, I was in fact referring to a 2-month break that resulted from a critical update in Alex's life that he will announce in August 2022. So yeah, I can't believe we missed that. I didn't even think about that at all.
3 weeks from now is not November of any year, though.
Maybe he meant 3 months. Does that work? August, September? No.
From 3 months from August is November.
September, October, November. Okay, well,
we'll just assume that by weeks he meant months, and by now he meant a month from now. And,
and then everything makes sense.
Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Of course. Okay, also a minor correction for what Alex said in the podcast. Birds definitely have middle fingers. Otherwise, how would the NSA taunt conspiracy theorists who are suspicious of birds? Do you have any idea what this is referencing? I do not remember talking about.
Can you read it again?
Okay.
Actually, I think my mind just stopped working while you read it the first time.
All right, I'm gonna go a bit slower this time. Also, a minor correction for what Alex said in the podcast. Birds definitely have middle fingers. Otherwise, how would the NSA taunt conspiracy theorists who are suspicious of birds?
Okay, I see. He's saying the birds will give the middle finger to conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I don't.
I did not. Okay,
Did we talk about this last week?
We must have. I don't know what else he would be talking about, but I really have no recollection of that.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if he was just like making this up?
Just minor correction, by the way. Teeth do not have arms. I don't know why you would even claim that. It's clearly not true.
And we'd just be sitting here for 5 minutes going like, why did we talk about teeth having arms? That doesn't... I mean, we clearly must have said it. It was only a week ago, and we definitely remember these things, but...
Yeah. So, I have no idea. Cephalopod, please send us a follow-up with a timestamp to the episode so that we...
so we don't have to look at that.
I'm not going to listen to the whole episode to figure out what he's talking about, to be honest. So, I don't even remember talking about birds at all. Oh, no, saw a bird. That was one of our top 10 things. So I guess it's probably related to that.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyway.
To round out this email, lastly, I have bad news and good news. The good news is that I no longer seem to get Fox News as related videos feed on the side of the podcast. The bad news is that I now get recommended Ben Shapiro whenever I watch your podcast. It may be because Alex said it's the ethical decision to take any means possible to enrich yourself, near the end of the podcast, but I'm not sure why it also made Fox News go away. Yeah, this is truly baffling to me. I really don't know what we've done here.
The YouTube algorithm is just an inscrutable enigma. I don't really know that I have any comment on anything, although I will say that the subliminal messaging that we put out is pretty similar to the subliminal messaging that Fox News and Ben Shapiro put out. So
that's true.
Go buy some guns or something, I guess. I don't know.
Oh boy. All right. Well, that's the end of the email, and thank you for sending that to us. We really do appreciate hearing about how you're a dumbass and all those other things that you said as well.
Indeed. And if you, listener, would like to send us an email, you can do that. Our email can be found on our website, alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast. alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
It was going so well, and you were.
I actually had it correct in my mind. Yeah. And I was like, .website/ That doesn't make any sense.
What are you talking about? It's so easy and simple to remember.
It's so easy and simple. It's just not typical to other websites. Right. So, yes, you can go there and find our email and send us one.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. Is there anything else before we start the actual content of the episode? Do we have maybe, 10, 15 minutes more stuff to talk about?
I feel like we should have more absolute nonsense before we get into any real content, but I think...
I guess we're under-delivering on the absolute nonsense today.
Yeah, we really just plowed through that, so...
I mean, 11 minutes is not, super short. So anyway, yes, I guess we'll get to this. So today, Nathan, what are we doing today?
So today we're going to do on purpose what we did by accident several weeks ago now. You heard us mention earlier episode 98, short stories. We thought that would be a good idea to revisit. Riding on the high of our Genius Last Week episode. We're planning to put together some short stories for you, based on writing prompts by our good friend, the John Fox. The John
Fox and I are just like this. And for the listeners who can't see, I'm holding my hands very far apart. We have never talked to each other. I do not know him at all, or even if it's a real person. But yeah. We really appreciate everything he's done for us for our podcast.
Yeah, he's really been there for us since pretty early on. I think I don't care to search myself, but if anyone knows when the first time we used the johnfox.com/2016/05/story-idea-generator, just feel free to shoot us an email and let me know, because I'm mildly curious.
Sweet. All right, so I want to provide a little bit of background about why we decided to do this. So this short stories, this episode is what I'm referring to. So, oftentimes when we come to when we talk about what we're going to do for an episode, we will go back and look what we've done at recent episodes to make sure we don't repeat anything and see if there's something that's far enough in the past that we can do that again. Now, the problem is that our episodes aren't really always named such that you can tell what it is from the title of the episode. So sometimes it's very annoying to go back and do that. So today I decided to create a spreadsheet with all of our episodes and what we actually did in the episode, so that to make this process easier in the future. And as we were going back, I saw that in episode 99, which was titled episode 98, we did short stories. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. It allows us to talk creatively about stories, but we don't get bogged down in all the stuff that we often do when we do like movies and stuff. And so I went to we went to listen to the portion of the episode where we talked about the idea, and we discovered that it turns out we didn't actually purposely do a short story episode. We set out to do a movie episode, and then we just spent 25 minutes before the actual content of the episode started, so we couldn't actually do a movie, and we kind of just ended up falling into it by accident. But in retrospect, I think it was a great idea. I haven't listened to the episode ever, and I have no recollection of it, but I'm sure it was great. And so we're going to do that purposely this time.
Yep. So, one thing to shout out here before we jump in, I just want to say I've gone to this website again for the story idea generator, and the John Fox seems to have given his whole site a makeover. This is not at all what I remember. So big thumbs up for making it look really nice. Unfortunately, big thumbs down for no longer actually being a generator. So I don't know if we ever made this clear, but you used to be able to like click a button and it would pop up a random prompt. Mm-hmm. And now it's just a big list, like all on the same page. Like I could just read down the list if I wanted, which personally I think takes a lot of the fun out of it.
Okay, here's what I think we should do. I, in probably 5 minutes, can write a piece of software that will randomly select one of these prompts from a text file.
Okay.
The problem is 5 minutes of dead air on a podcast is not good.
So actually, I also have a solution to this problem, and I'm happy to attempt to fill 5 minutes if you really want to race the clock with writing some code. But the prompts are luckily numbered, and so I just pulled up a random number generator in another tab. And what I think I'll do is generate a number, scroll to that prompt without looking at the others as best I can, and just we'll go from there.
Now I feel very moronic for not for suggesting the thing that I did.
Well,
that's a much better idea. Let's do that.
The conditions weren't clear. I don't think I mentioned that it was a numbered list. So,
well, even if you didn't, we could have easily numbered them in like Excel or something.
That's true.
Anyway, that's a good idea. Let's do that, and let's get started.
Okay, well, here we go. The first random number is 25. Nice.
Hey, want to hear something even funnier than 24?
Let me hear it.
25.
All right, here we go. Prompt number 25. A professional whistler flies to Switzerland to compete in an international competition. What strange character is his fiercest opponent, and how does this opponent attempt to sabotage him?
Oh,
all right.
This is a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's like a serious, like sports style story, but it's about whistling. I really think there's a lot of comedic possibilities there.
All right, so actually, we don't have to go with this at all. Here's just a thought. It says international competition. What if the competition isn't about whistling?
Okay, I like that. Read the prompt again.
All right, here we go. A professional whistler flies to Switzerland to compete in an international competition. What strange character is his fiercest opponent, and how does this opponent attempt to sabotage him?
Okay, good. I like this. Okay, so the competition is unrelated to whistling.
Right.
However, his nemesis is also a whistler.
Also professional
in this
whistler.
International competition.
All right, so did they purposely go to this competition knowing that it wasn't whistling, or did they both get into this comedic scenario?
Oh. That's an interesting question. I was going to say it's a little bit unrealistic to think that they would both accidentally enter another competition, but that doesn't really enter into it in this kind of story, right. I don't think. I don't know, I think they accidentally enter a non-whistling competition. I think that's what's going on here.
And that's why the other professional whistler is his fiercest opponent, because everybody else who is there is like properly good at whatever the competition is. So they're basically fighting it out for last place, potentially.
Yeah, and I feel like there's the thing is, if this guy shows up and finds out that it's not the kind of competition that he thinks, he may have to enlist the help of a former pro who's retired because he injured himself. Classic trope kind of thing. And I think that guy should also coincidentally be a whistler.
I'm liking where this is headed. Somehow, by the end of the story, they unlock the true power of whistling to actually win the competition.
They end up just whistling in the competition and lose because it's not about whistling, but they're like, we played our game, we didn't bow to what they wanted.
We stuck with our
and everyone else is there like, why did you enter this competition then? Why didn't you just drop out if you weren't going to actually compete?
All right, so when I'm thinking about international competition, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is like some kind of Olympic sport.
Yeah, I feel like that would just be too normal, though. I feel like it has to be something, again, just super niche, like, I don't know, like, okay, let me ask you something. When you were in elementary school, did you ever play the math game 24?
I don't remember anything called 24. Can you describe it?
Yeah, basically, it was like a card with 4 numbers on it, and you would have to somehow combine these 4 numbers using the 4 different, ways: multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, to make the number 24.
Okay.
And you have to do that before the other people playing. This is just a random story, but when I was in high school, I volunteered to judge a competition of this.
Yeah.
Of elementary schoolers who were the best in their school. So it was a kind of intra elementary, and it's unbelievable how quickly these kids can come up with math combinations of numbers to get to 24. Anyway, so yeah. That's just the first thing that came to my mind, is a really niche Now the thing is, it may not be easy to show somebody getting better at this particular thing. There's not a lot of practice you can do besides just doing it.
Can you imagine though a training montage where it's just
that's kind of what
looking at a card and then thinking for a while and then saying, "All right, I got it."
That's exactly what I'm imagining. Is the thing
plus 8.
I'm imagining you know how in a training montage they have a couple different things that he's doing. So one of the things he's doing is just practicing slapping the card.
Yeah.
One of the things that he's doing is just looking at just a bunch of random numbers on a chalkboard and circling some or something like that. All right. I think now this has to be the thing.
All right. There's also the injured pro who broke his leg or something entirely unrelated to math and then dropped out of the competition entirely.
Yeah. He's like, I can't do this anymore. And everyone's like, why? You just broke your leg. He's like, no, the sport has ruined my career. I was going to get a scholarship for this.
Oh, man.
All right. So we have the general story elements here. Do you want to flesh it out a little bit more? So this guy, okay, let's talk about why/how these people enter this competition by accident.
Right. I'm trying to...
Do you have any ideas of why/how they enter this competition by accident?
I feel like with some thought, there's some kind of clever pun type thing you could do with the name of the competition to make it sound like it's some kind of whistling thing, but also if you think about it, it's really a math kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, worst case, you can just have an acronym for their whistling competition that also is the acronym for this math competition.
So the acronym is WHISTLE, and...
Oh, no.
All right, W is...
Winternational.
Winternational.
Okay, W stands for wintertime. International... No, there's an H next. Hold on. Wintertime... I got nothing.
All
on
right,
H.
so
You got anything on the H?
let's imagine that we did a good job at this part and move on
Right,
because that's
so-
a good enough joke on its own.
Anytime we would say the acronym, we're just gonna really say like the acronym. But you listeners will all know that there's a hilarious acronym that we just didn't want to spend the time coming
Right.
up with.
It's so good. Oh man.
Anyway, so they sign up for this competition because it has the same acronym as the other competition.
I just want to throw in here real quick that if anybody wants to email us an acronym for a
please
math
email us an
competition that is
acronym.
WHISTLE,
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
that would be amazing. Okay, so and how can they email us, by the way, in case they didn't hear it earlier?
If you weren't listening earlier, but for some reason
Or
you're
I
listening
just
now,
messed it up so badly that they just didn't get it.
by the time you sorted it out, they didn't realize what we were talking about anymore. So you can find our email by visiting our website, which is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. And just, from there, pretty much anything you click on will send you to an email, which goes to us. Please remember to make the subject line of your emails "I'm a dumbass," because it makes it laugh when people email us that they're dumbasses. And it makes us feel better if they have good ideas that we didn't have, like what the acronym for WHISTLE should be.
Anyway, okay, so they enter this competition, and they show up, and they find out it's not what they thought. And he enlists the help of this. Okay, so really the only story element we're missing at this point is what does his nemesis do to sabotage him?
So there are two ways this could go, I guess. The nemesis could either be trying to sabotage his math skills or could be trying to sabotage his whistling. So potentially,
how would him sabotaging his whistling have any effect?
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Here's just another one of those random ideas. We don't have to go with this if we don't want to. But what if he becomes some kind of math prodigy as long as he's whistling to himself? And he's never realized it until he accidentally entered this competition.
Okay, so because we're not doing an actual story, I think this is just story idea number 1 that finishes the story. He realizes that he needs to whistle, in order, or he learns to be good at math by whistling because it helps him think or whatever.
Yeah.
Becomes really good at it. Then on the day of the competition, the nemesis gives him saltines that he somehow in a plot, I don't know, gets him to eat saltines, and he can't whistle, but then he remembers his mentor's last words before he died of an unrelated injury. He died of arthritis or diabetes or something. And he's able to do the math without whistling.
Right.
So that's story idea number 1. I would say story idea number 2, and again, we don't have to pick one of these. These are just different ideas for the story. Story idea number 2 is this kind of ties to an idea we had earlier. He enters the competition, but the other guy sabotages the cards somehow, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Somehow sabotages the math portion of this, makes him wear glasses such that he can't see the cards. I don't know how he doesn't just take them off.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know if
Yes.
you know this, having been a moderator for this event, or just as a fact of math, but do these cards always, could you pick any combination of numbers and then that is a card? Or this is really more of a math fact, I suppose.
You can't. If, for example, if you picked 1, 1, 1, 1, there's no way to make that go to 24.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay.
So it has to be, there are not infinite sequences of integers that can work for, I guess there probably are infinite sequences of integers, but all of the numbers are less than 24. So there's a finite number of possible cards.
Right. And a subset of those that are possible to get to 24, and another subset where it's
Right.
not possible. And so I'm
So,
imagining that the nemesis has like shuffled into the deck of the
Yeah.
judge's cards like a couple that are impossible, and that's
For
the
some
sabotage.
reason, he can't just tell the judge that this is an impossible card.
Right.
Okay.
Because the judges don't know basic math and can't deduce
He
that
just goes,
by themselves.
"You can't make 24 with this card," and they go, "Yes, you can.
Of course you
Yeah,
can. That's what the
You
competition
can make 24
is.
with any combination of numbers."
Okay. Yeah, that's not a great idea, but luckily we don't really have to roll with it. We can just kind of skim
Anyway,
over that
the
part.
bottom line is his math gets sabotaged. He can't make the numbers, and so he's just like, you know what? Screw this, and he just starts whistling to tie
Right.
this back to the idea that we had before, and everyone hates it, and he's kicked out. But he played his own game. He did it his way, as Frank Sinatra would have said.
Right.
We could just have that song playing in the background as he's escorted off the premises for whistling.
As his nemesis on stage is reading
He's
the
just
winning
accepting the
combination.
first place trophy.
Yeah.
So that's option number 2. Any other options besides those two that you can think of?
He could like send a hitman to like take him out the night before the competition, and the hitman breaks his leg just like his mentor, and his mentor is like,
And
"You
just
can't
has a
go
gun
on."
there.
And the guy's just like, "What are you talking about? I'll just like put a cast on and like crutch up onto the stage and do math. It's not."
Oh, I thought you were saying that's better. I thought you were saying the hitman himself breaks his leg and thus can't kill him, can't follow through on the hit,
Yeah.
even though he's literally right there with a gun. Oh, I broke my leg. I guess I'm done. My hitman career is over.
That's just a recurring thing throughout the story. It's just that there's a bunch of like really minor things that people like break their legs and then are unable to do.
The guy fails at becoming the math thing, but the nemesis breaks his leg in the competition somehow, and he ends up beating his nemesis anyway.
The
What a
final
really
the final
unsatisfying ending that
scene
would be.
is him being like escorted off for whistling and ruining the competition as the doctors tell the broken-legged nemesis, "And you'll never whistle again." The end.
Nice. That's all right. I think that we have sufficiently covered this story.
Yeah.
So let's
At least
move on to
half
the
of
next
those are solid gold. All right, our next randomly generated number is 112. Amazing. It's really making
one. By
me
the way,
scroll.
how many numbers are there?
There are 118. I'm wondering if there were always 118, and that was just kind of hidden from us by the generator
That's what
aspect of it.
I would imagine he just dumped them all onto a page.
Yeah, it's a real shame. You kind of pulled back the curtain and showed the limitations of the generator, making up. We gotta come up with our own randomization element. Anyway, here we go. 112. Dream up a new invention that is wonderful for the world but devastating to your character. How does this character respond to the invention? I feel like the response is definitely becoming a supervillain. This is like a villain origin story, right?
That's a good point. Yes, I feel like we should avoid making the invention too good.
Right.
Like it can't cure cancer or like make world peace or solve world hunger or anything like that.
And the villain is like, "But I was making money off of cancer. Dang it."
Yeah. You still have to make the main character a sympathetic character.
Right.
Or at least someone you can root for evil stuff. I don't know.
Right.
You can root for bad people is the thing. Just look at Breaking Bad.
Yeah. All right, so this invention is a brilliant new way to make meth. And
That's not good for the world.
the main character can no longer make money for his cancer treatments. Okay.
All right. So what if the invention is like a cool new piece of technology? That's something that everyone would like, but it's not necessarily so good that we can't have. Yes. Okay. Ooh, it could be like a descent into like a dystopian future. Like the guy invents like, I don't know, like brain implants.
Yeah.
Like this is a beginning of a Black Mirror episode or something. So like you know that Black Mirror episode where they have the things in their mind that allow them to like record memories and stuff like that?
No, but okay.
Okay, there's a Black Mirror episode where everyone has the ability to like record their memories and play them back.
Huh. Okay.
So yeah, this is the origin story for that Black Mirror episode. He makes this and it ruins his life somehow.
And but is it good for the world?
Well, I mean, the idea is that like an invention like this is on the surface good for the world. Like, wow, like
okay.
It's really cool to be able to like do this. Is a huge technological improvement.
Sure.
I will never forget any of my memories again. But in the end, like it really has a lot of negative effects. So I guess this idea is really cool idea for a movie, but maybe not funny for this podcast.
No. He creates this invention that allows you to record your memories, but then he does something really embarrassing, and then everybody is able to remember it forever. He's just like the meme of this technology.
Right. Okay, so what does he do that's embarrassing? He honestly just slips on a banana peel.
He's like
straight
delivering a speech to the, award, he's receiving some award for this invention, and like as he reaches the microphone he slips on a banana peel, and literally everyone in the audience is obviously like aware, like using his invention at the time so they can record the acceptance speech because it's going to be a huge historical moment. And
right.
He just slips, and then everybody laughs, and then
he's just so embarrassed that he runs off the stage and can't even accept the award.
The end. So the rest of the movie then has to be like his quest to destroy his invention, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know, either destroy the invention or to like take down the people responsible for his embarrassment.
For the banana peel.
Right.
So like as he like in shame watches the memory over and over and over, he notices like the presenter kind of give him a glance before dropping a banana peel very obviously next to the podium, and he's like, how did I not see that?
Well, again, this is not a funny idea, but would be a really cool idea for a movie, is like you just see him like investigating like every aspect of how that banana peel got there, the people who were in charge of cleaning, and literally anyone whoever recorded the event, and just like, have you seen Now You See Me? I know you've seen Now You See Me. For those who haven't, I
don't think so.
It's about like these 4 magicians who like rob things. Well, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go see it. It's a great movie. And I guess by bringing it up now, I kind of spoiled something about it. But anyway, he basically just masterminds this like really elaborate plot to just, and like step by step, you see every single person who was involved in this incident, just their life is ruined. Yeah. Their career, their family hates them now. Like, they lose all their money. Anyway, back to the funny stuff. But yeah, it's just like a really obvious. I don't know. I just laughed because I wanted to say something funny, but I didn't have anything funny to say. That's awkward.
Yeah.
Revenge tour. Every time he tries to get revenge on someone, he slips on another banana peel.
Oh man. By the end of the movie, there's just like pretty much everything on the memory sharing platform is in some way or another him just slipping on a banana peel. There's like a banana peel remix where it's like auto-tuned him falling on banana
auto-tuned.
peels.
I was just thinking that exact thing.
All of the like early internet things is just like him slipping on banana peels. All right. These are some good ideas. I don't know that there's a whole lot of story to be fleshed out around
There's
it.
not. This is a tough idea for our kind of format here, I think.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to the next idea.
All right, next idea is number 91. A husband and wife move into a new house only to discover their neighbors all belong to some kind of weird clan that meets every Wednesday night across the street at 10 p.m. What is the nature of the group, and why does the wife want to join them but the husband refuses?
Okay, I have a great idea for
Great.
this. The clan is just a Clash of Clans clan. So it's a totally normal thing.
Yeah.
And the husband just cannot understand it. He's like, there's just like this weird cult living, like everyone in the neighborhood's like part of it. They're just like normal people
Yeah.
who play Clash of Clans, and his wife is like, oh, Clash of Clans, that seems kind of cool. And this
Seems
guy
like a
just
fun
cannot
game.
wrap his head around it. He thinks that his life is falling apart because his wife wants to join. It's shot like a horror movie, like they're part of
Yeah.
an actual cult, and like
Yeah.
that's kind of how it looks, but it's really just normal Clash of Clans.
So I don't know a lot about Clash of Clans, but if you were to like, I don't know if you know either, but if you were to like describe what was happening in the game and like interpret that as if it were a real life thing, I assume that would be just like completely nonsense, right?
So I am not that familiar with Clash of Clans, but basically I think the general idea is that you and your clan build up like a base, and then
Yeah.
you like go attack the bases of other clans.
Okay, so the husband is
various
convinced
things.
that this is some like conspiracy to take down the city, and they've been like
Yeah,
pulling off
the
hits.
the name of the clan that they're fighting is just like something that's easily confusable with something real, like the Mayor's clan or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, okay, so they move. I think the build up to finding out that it's Clash of Clans could be really good. Like they move and like there's like whispers around the street. Again, it's shot kind of like a horror movie, so like
For sure.
you see like someone moving out of the corner of your eye, you turn, you're like, I don't know what that was. And then you see like over in the house across the street at 10 p.m. one night, you see like candles lit. You're like, what's going on over there? And like you hear them talking about it, like you hear them talking to their neighbors about it. Their neighbors never outright come and say what it is.
Yeah.
But the way they talk about it is kind of ominous, at least, or it sounds kind of ominous. Like, yeah, we just destroyed those other guys the other night.
Got another takedown coming this Wednesday.
Yeah. So the build up, and then I feel like once you find out that it's Clash of Clans, I don't know how much it should change like the tone of the movie.
Yeah,
'Cause
what's like
there's
the
two
end
options,
game,
basically.
right? Like how does that? I feel like that's kind of like a climactic thing. Is you discover this, and then obviously like it's not a big deal that the wife wants to do this, so there has to be some kind of like conclusion where she gets to, or like
Oh, that's interesting.
the husband
so
just goes
the way
crazy
I was
or
thinking
something.
about it, like the discovery of the fact that it's Clash of Clans would not be like the climactic moment.
Okay.
It would be like halfway through the movie. You would find that out, and then the movie changes to, instead of being about this clan, it's more about this husband's just descent into like absolute paranoia and madness over nothing. And so like the climax would be he finally like snaps and does something crazy, which is kind of a horror in and of itself. I guess I'm a horror movie writer now.
We started off with lighthearted comedies,
Oh.
and now we're talking about how this husband snaps over absolutely nothing and burns down his neighborhood.
Or the other option is it could be like this huge build up to like the snap, and then instead of snapping, he just like finally understands what Clash of Clans is, and he's just like, oh, okay, and then the movie ends.
That's fine. There's another direction here, which is he like refuses to learn, you know, like he is like against it and refuses to talk to his wife about it because she's joined, like discovered it's fine, no big deal, and they're like growing more and more distant, and like there's at the end of the movie they've like built up to this one, like we've got to take down this like super high level like legendary clan, and the rumor is there's only one guy behind it all, and there's like an epic battle, and it turns out the guy on the other side of the fight is the husband, and he's known all along.
Wait, sorry, I was slightly distracted. Can you repeat the end of that?
All right, so they're like at some point it's just kind of like the focus on the wife working with the clan, and the husband is like refusing to learn. But
I see. I understand.
The like final the final battle is like
yeah.
between the clan and the husband, who has secretly known all along what was going on.
He's secretly a Clash of Clans genius, and like is the head of the mayor clan or whatever we're saying the enemy clan is.
So, and then I'm sure there are some other interesting story elements sprinkled throughout. Anything else we want to discuss in particular?
Just going back to my idea for a second, I'm curious. Yeah. So, in this event that the story is build up to finding out that it's Clash of Clans, and then the rest of the story is about the husband, do you think that the story would be better if like it continued to be shot from like a perspective of like a horror story, and like that was kind of the funny part, that the audience saw that it was like but that it was clearly fine, but it was shot like a horror story? Or does it now just totally tone shift? Now it's clearly a comedy, like it's shot and written like a comedy, and just this husband is just totally like clueless. Like, I guess, yeah, it's the same plot either way. It's just shot and written differently, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be really especially good if I guess you could kind of mix the two, right? Like, you have a bunch of just totally normal shots of like the wife off doing her thing, but then as the husband gets like more and more paranoid, the like horror movie tropes just like ramp higher and higher and higher until it's like this super intense thing for his scenes, and then it'll just like cut away to his wife and the neighbors like on the back porch, like, you know, on their phones, like playing Clash of Clans.
Yeah, they got like snacks. Like someone comes out, who wants lemonade?
Cuts back, and it's like the shaky camera through the woods as the husband, like, you know,
he's just running through like middle class backyards in shaky cam.
It's like
people
are
just like waving to him, like, "Hey Bob, how's it going?
all the
You coming to the clan meeting tonight?"
No, not the clan meeting. All right, that's good.
Good. All right, I think that covers that story. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, here we go. Our next.
Oh, actually, no. Real quick, one thing I want to discuss before we move on to the next one. Not related to the story, but how much do you think that Blizzard Entertainment, who I assume owns Clash of Clans, maybe it's not Blizzard, but whoever owns Clash of Clans, will pay us to make this movie?
I'm impressed you even had a guess as to who owns Clash of Clans. I don't know if I could have even had an idea. But I mean, this could definitely be. Have there been $1 trillion movies before? Because this is for sure got to be $1 trillion movie.
It's Supercell, not Blizzard. Anyway.
Oh, that does kind of sound familiar now.
I don't think that I've ever heard of $1 trillion movie in terms of budget. But I think that if we made this movie, it would not make $1 trillion in the box office. So if somebody gave us $1 trillion to make it, that seems like a waste of money.
All right, I'm looking this up. The number one, the top grossing movie of all time is Avatar.
Avengers
Endgame is second. But Avatar made $2.8 billion.
Right.
So we could easily. I mean, maybe $1 trillion is a bit of a stretch, but we could easily make 10 times that. I think.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just looked up the most expensive film in terms of like budget,
Uh-huh.
and the Wikipedia lists it as Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides with a budget of $378.5 million.
Wait a minute. Wait, did you say 300 something million?
Yes.
Okay. For a second, I heard that as like $3 million. I was like, is $3 million the most expensive movie ever? And there's movies making $3 billion? If so, I need to quit my job and start making movies. Jeez. But yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that we could make a $30 billion movie. In which case, I would say, a $3 billion budget would be, really a bargain for all of these studios.
It would be a bargain. That's 10 to 1.
$1 billion to spend on the movie, and then $1 billion for each of us for the royalty, like story rights and stuff.
Right.
So anyway,
I think that sounds pretty fair.
If you're a movie studio and you're liking the sound of this, please email us.
If you are Universal Studios, you yourself are Universal Studios.
If you personally are the entirety of Universal Studios,
send us an email. All right,
cool.
Let's go to the next one.
Let's see what's up next. It is 74. A brother tries to counsel and console his sister through a difficult divorce. What problems from their past come up, and what happens to the soon-to-be ex-husband shows up drunk? This sounds familiar. Have we done this before?
I mean, no, but it sounds like just the prompt of an Oscar-winning movie, honestly. Just a generic Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
Frankly, unless you have any good ideas, I'm kind of in favor of just skipping this one. It sounds very serious, and not funny at all. Do you have any thoughts?
Obviously, the problems from the past are related to either Clash of Clans or whistling competitions gone wrong. But other than that,
right.
We can just go ahead and skip over this one. That may be what we've done in the past too. I'm just that I feel like I've read this before.
I believe that.
All right, 26. Let's see how that one goes. There's so much scrolling in this. If you're the John Fox and you're listening to this, please change your website back. I know I said some compliments about it at the start, but I'm really feeling now that this is just all downside. I don't care how it looks if it's worse to use,
Right.
All right. Okay. This is brilliant. We're gonna really finish strong here, and I hope that's not overhyping this prompt. Here we go. Number 26. A mother starts to suspect her child has psychic powers. How does she test her daughter, and does she come to respect or fear her?
I mean, I feel like it would be kind of weird if she came to respect her daughter. That would just be like, I mean, I feel like it's more likely that she comes to accept her daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I love you, powers and all. That would be the more likely ending than like, all right, I see you with those powers. You do you. Good job, girl.
Respect.
You
no longer require parenting.
Mad respect.
All right, so the first thing we need to determine is how old is this child?
Right. How old is the child? No age is jumping out at me as being especially comedic.
So I feel like the kind of like mid to late teens type age would be good from like a plot perspective, because then the daughter could do more things independently. Whereas
agency,
if she was younger, it may be difficult to have her. But then again, like movies and like, shows and stories in general, I feel like young kids tend to do a lot of stuff anyway,
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't I don't fully remember what it was like to be 10 years old, but like there are plenty of stories that have 10-year-old kids doing all this crazy stuff, and you know, it's I guess we shouldn't feel restricted to make it an older child just because.
Personally, whenever I see a movie like that that's like got like a 10-year-old protagonist who's doing all this crazy stuff,
Yeah.
I'm always just like a little bit like, all right, like they clearly just made this kid 10 years old so that 10-year-olds would like this movie.
Yeah.
It's not super realistic to me that they would be doing all. I mean, you know, it's a movie, so there's of course some suspension of disbelief.
Psychic powers, I'll give that a pass, but being 10 years old, absolutely not.
Being 10 years old, and absolutely not, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm kind of down. All right. How about this? How about we discuss what the powers are and more about the rest of the plot, and then decide, like, nah, this makes a lot more sense as, like, a older child, or this would be hilarious if it was a toddler.
Sure, fair enough.
So what are the psychic powers?
All right, one of the psychic powers definitely has to be mind reading.
I agree.
I feel like that's kind of one of the earliest things that can show up in like the mother-daughter dynamic, is like the mother's thinking about stuff and the daughter like knows what it is, you know, and the mother's starting to become suspicious that this isn't just random luck. So we've got mind reading.
I feel like when I think about like ways that something like that could be shown in a movie, most of the things that I come up with are very corny.
Perfect.
Like I'm just imagining some really
Perfect.
I'm just imagining some really corny dialogue where where they're talking and the daughter's just like, and by the way, Mom, you don't have to worry that I'm going crazy. I'm perfectly sane. And the mom's just like, what? How did you know that I was thinking that? It's like, no child would ever say that. Okay. Yeah. But so yeah, I like that mind reading. I think mind control is a bad one. I think that's just terrifying and dark. What do you think about like telekinesis?
That's a good one. That's very visual, you know, you can, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with that too.
Right. Okay, good. So mind reading and telekinesis, is that sufficient, would you say?
That's pretty those are some psychic powers for sure. That's solid.
All right. So now knowing that it's mind, I feel like with mind reading, it's better to have a young child. Yeah. Because it's more like contrast, like wow, like really, like a 6-year-old knows this.
What you
like,
should know
if
versus
16-year-old knows this, you could just say, oh, she's really insightful.
Right.
But like, there's no way that a 6-year-old should know this.
Okay.
And I feel like with the telekinesis, the 6-year-old should just get into like absurd things with it. But we never see it on screen. It's just like we like pan over and there's like a rhinoceros like out of a cage because the 6-year-old wanted to like touch it or whatever.
Right. It's like hugging the horn.
The mother just keeps like, the mother just wants to like see, just doesn't see it ever happening. She just like looks over and it's like, what the heck? Okay, so I feel like comedically where I'm being led by this, what we've discussed so far, is just a bunch of very obvious displays of psychic power by this child, and the mom's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, never like being oblivious. Like, oh, she has psychic powers. What?
Just completely oblivious.
Right, it's being played like it's the daughter's being really sneaky about it, like the mom is suspicious.
Right.
But in reality, it's just a bunch of very obvious things. What were you going to say before I talked over you?
It amounted to basically the same thing, yeah. So it was just like very obvious displays that, you know, are coming off as like very mysterious and whatnot. So, all right, so that's the premise, right? So like, what are we What do we?
Can you read the second half of the prompt again?
Yeah. How does she test her daughter, and does she come to respect or fear her?
Okay, right. Okay, how does she test her daughter? What do you think that she... Right. How does she try and figure out if her daughter has psychic powers?
All right.
It obviously has to be a very... Go ahead.
Here's the thing that I think would fit well with kind of the like obliviousness of the mom is like all of the tests are fairly simple and the daughter doesn't even use psychic powers to solve them and she's just like more and more convinced, you know, and then just like
she's more convinced by the tests that have nothing to do with the actual psychic powers and then ignores the
she's like how many fingers am I holding up, but she shows the daughter and the daughter's just like 4.
Or like she's like holding them up behind her back, but it's just like a full like mirror behind the back so the daughter can easily see it.
Yeah.
And the daughter's like, I can, the mother, but the mother doesn't listen. She's just like, how is she doing this? Like, or like another one could be like, she like locks her daughter, or not like locks her daughter, but like, puts her in like a fenced in area and is like, all right, I bet she won't be able to get out of here. But then turns out it's just, the gate's just unlocked and the daughter just walks out while the mother's not looking. Yeah. And she turns around, she's out. She's like, what? How did you get out?
All right. So what's the climax of the movie, right? So there's like sort of a conflict and that like the daughter has psychic powers and the mom doesn't get it. But like, right. I feel like there should be something else going on in the background too.
What do you mean by, like, what do you mean, what else? Like, what's an example of something else?
Like, so what we've described so far honestly feels a bit to me like some kind of, like, either an intro or a B plot or something. And, like, I guess what I'm imagining, the scale of the thing would be, like, there is some, like, you know, bad guy that the daughter has been, like, secretly fighting throughout the movie, you know, and, like, it's way more intense than the mom even realizes. And eventually she just like, you know, has to battle this guy or something, and then the mom like doesn't get it.
Right. My initial thought when you said that was like, what if the daughter's just accidentally just like beating up this villain without even knowing it?
Okay.
Just through all of her stuff. Yeah. But the problem with that is, like, if this is going to be a plot line of your movie, that's just, like, not a plot line. That's just, like, a background thing that happens. So I like that the daughter's, like, fighting actively, like, uh-oh, this guy's coming, I better do something. And the thing is, she can read his mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, like, what he can really do.
So maybe that's kind of the thing, right? Is, like, this like... There's like this really evil villain who is trying to like come up mastermind this like plot, and like there is an actual like, I don't know if it should be like some other superhero or like just like the detectives that are going after him or whatever, like whatever good guys are in the story keep like getting barely saved in all of these situations by this girl accidentally doing something, right?
Yep, and here's the connection. The mom is one of the detectives going after.
There it is.
Going after the bad guy.
Oh man, there it is. And so she's like splitting her. She's like, you know, that's the thing, right? She's like trying to split her time between this like huge important case and also being there for her family, and like never makes the connection. It's like really suspicious, and she's like conflicted because she feels like she's being paranoid because of this case. It's like, there's no way my daughter is like psychic, right? That's ridiculous.
But... Yeah. Okay. So the kind of the climax of the movie is basically the like all of the situations we talked about up until now. The mother just like sees the results of it and is never sure if the daughter's psychic or whatever. And in the climactic scene, the mother sees the daughter do like psychic stuff and save the day. And it's like, you really do have psychic powers. And so that brings us to our final question. What is the mom's reaction to finding out that her daughter has psychic powers?
You know, we mocked respect in the opening, but I feel like that's the only way to close this out.
She just, like, the 6-year-old daughter just becomes a police officer.
A police detective. And, like,
and she just,
the closing scene
I'm just imagining the
is, like, you know, somebody comes into the police office and is, like, telling the mom, like, oh, there's this horrible case, like, we need your best detectives. And the mom is like, I've got just the officer. And, like, opens the door and it's just, like, the daughter in preschool. It's like, I've got a...
I was just imagining the daughter, like, dressed in, like, business casual clothes, like, sitting at a desk across from the mother, like, how you doing, partner? Good. Like, you need more juice? I don't know. Like...
I like that better.
Yeah, so either way, there's some good endings that you could have, but I think that generally covers this story.
Yeah. Speaking of good endings and that generally covering it, I think we're right about a time here. What do you think? Any closing thoughts?
I think you're right. Hour 5 is good. So yeah, that about covers our short stories. Because this is a relatively new format for us, please send us an email and let us know what you think. Whether you liked it, you want us to do more, whether you didn't like it, you want us to do never do this again. Or you have some story prompts of your own you want us to develop on. That would also
that'd be great. If you do send us story prompts, make sure that there is some way that I can, like, click a button and have it randomly appear in front of me, though. That's the... genuinely, I feel like we should, you know, actually write the code ourselves to do this, because I...
Right, that's a high bar. I would say if you want to send us some story ideas, Nathan, if you just let me know, like, before an episode, I'll just write that software, like, real quick, and we can use it during an episode.
There it is. All right.
Thank you to Python's random.choice function in advance.
All right.
All right. Cool. Any closing announcements? Didn't we used to have a thing we did at the end of the episode? I already forgot.
I don't... Do you want to just make something up? Let's make up a new thing that we always do at the end of the episodes.
We have always done this. We will continue to always do this.
It's actually, before we get to the thing that we've always done, which I know what it is now, we were talking before the episode, and we wanted to mention the Joel Low scores.
Oh, yeah.
Because we haven't had an update in a couple of weeks now. So Cephalopod, if you're listening, please also include these past couple episodes and give us a score update. We're excited to hear where we stand. Yes. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, no. And now for the thing that we have always done. It's the rock, paper, scissors tournament. Best of 3.
All
Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, we both did scissors. Paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
We both did paper. Are you looking at me in the lag? This is hilarious.
No, I'm literally not.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, we both did paper again.
Both paper again.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, yes. I did rock.
This is going to be totally unintelligible on the recording because of the desync, by the way.
Yeah, but, you know, luckily we do this all the time, so our listeners are probably used to it by now.
Yeah, I know. We've done it every episode, so here we go. Ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Aha, paper covers rock. And that'll do it for this episode.
We'll add it to the list. I think your overall winning, I think it's probably like 50-40, or I don't have it in front of me, but it's something like that. By the way, the thing that we used to do on our episodes was something related to like a quote or something.
That sounds familiar.
We would always forget to look up something.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was though, so I'm sure the listeners remember. Send us an email.
Yeah, they're probably listening to this and like screaming at us because we don't.
Honestly,
that's the sort of thing that I would do. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yep. So send us an email screaming at us.
We welcome audio
about
clips.
what additional thing besides the rock paper scissors tournament we have always done at the end of episodes. All right. Other than that, that's it. I think. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been Joel.